Hello and welcome to Zacks Shopping for Stocks. I'm your host, Maddy Johnson, an editor here at Zacks. Today is Halloween, and I want to talk about one of the scariest aspects of the retail industry, and that is department stores, unfortunately. And I say scary because they just can't seem to get a grip on the changing market tides, causing investor panic and caution to grow and grow. So Monday, yesterday, saw Macy's get downgraded to sell from neutral by a Citi research analyst who said that the company, quote, no longer makes much money as a retailer, unquote. So Citi does not believe Macy's, quote, has found the right tools to avoid a steady decline, saying decreasing foot traffic in stores continues despite all efforts by the company's management team to turn things around. So basically, bluntly, not a really good outlook. Citi also believes Macy's falling free cash flow puts the retailer's dividend on the chopping block. And the retailer currently has a dividend yield of 7.7%, which is fairly high. So, quote, with declining cash flows and the management's desire to maintain a healthy balance sheet, we believe there is a risk they will cut the dividend in the future, unquote, which Citi continued. But on top of this, JCPenney was also downgraded to sell from neutral by Citi. And just last week, the company provided week updated Q3 and full year 2017 guidance. So Penny's now expects comparable store sales to fall as much as 1% for the year, with flat growth presented as the best case scenario. And that sounds about right. I haven't been into a JCPenney's in potentially a decade. Well, that's not true. I usually go into a JCPenney's just to get into my local mall or to go into a Sephora that is located into a JCPenney's. So, maybe. Net loss is expected to be in the range of 40 cents to 65 cents per share, and JCPenney blamed heavy discounting, especially on women's apparel, ahead of the holiday season. So this back-to-back disappointing full-year outlook for two huge department store chains did not bode well for the rest of the industry yesterday. So shares of Nordstrom, Dillard's, and Kohl's all dipped, as well as retail sector ETFs. And for everyone, Nordstrom, Dillard's, and Kohl's trade under the stock tickers JWN, DDS, and KSS, respectively. So this kind of domino effect isn't new and usually happens when something significant happens to a bigger player like Macy's. Investors tend to infer what's going on with Macy's as a sign of what's going on with the wider department store market. So with all of this in mind, it's very clear that this upcoming holiday season could be a rough one, especially if this winter turns out to be warmer than expected. It doesn't feel very warm out today here in Chicago. I had to bring out my North Face parka, bundle up, put on my winter boots just to get into the door in my office. It's very cold, very windy, very blustery, but that doesn't mean that it's going to be an all-around cold winter. So for example, department stores dedicate a ton of floor space to parkas and winter coats. Even just walking into a Penny's or a Macy's, right away you'll see like a sea of winter coats. And if customers only need lighter jackets to get them through the winter, sales and profit margins could be negatively affected for the holiday quarter. This is, of course, dependent on customers actually shopping in brick and mortar stores, but as we know all too well, this is a whole other issue. So what department stores like Macy's and JCPenney have to start doing, now more than ever, is pulling out that innovation card. And we've been saying this forever, but what can they do differently? How can they stand out? How can they make shopping an event again? Perhaps they look to their peer Nordstrom, and I stand heavily for Nordstrom, as anyone who has listened to Shopping for Stocks knows. So Nordstrom is banking on a very successful discount strategy with its off-price Nordstrom Rack division, as well as testing a smaller store format without inventory. And this test is currently, I think, has just started out in the Los Angeles area or outside of Hollywood. And Nordstrom is renovating its current line of brick and mortar stores. And the full line Nordstrom here in Chicago even has a bar. Yes, a bar on the second floor, the men's floor. You can have a glass of wine, a glass of beer, maybe a cup of coffee. I don't know. If you get tired of shopping, just, grab a seat and just have a glass. It's pretty awesome. Heck, even Sears is bringing back its iconic holiday catalogs. Even Sears is doing something. So Macy's and JCPenney just need to do anything to make it worthwhile to shop there again. And like I said, if Sears can come up with ideas, then I think it's safe to say there's hope for these two department stores. So I think that does it for today's episode of Shopping for Stocks. Thanks for listening. And remember, if you think I missed anything or you have a topic in mind you think should be covered, shoot me an email at podcast@zacks.com. You can also check out all of our other exclusive audio content at zacks.com/podcast. Also, remember to subscribe and leave a rating on Apple Podcast. Thanks for joining, and I'll see you next time.